Okay, I have a lot to cover in 44 minutes and 55 seconds, so I'm going to jump right into it. I'm honestly not going to talk a lot about me today or where I'm from, but I do get to talk about a very special guest who is here today, which makes this perhaps one of the most terrifying speeches I've ever given, as my mother is in the audience. So if everyone can join me in saying, hello, Josh's mom. Hello, Josh's mom. I don't know where she is. Then I can really tell you that's where I'm from. But I like to say I'm from the internet, and I used to say that as a bit of a joke. But about 9 months ago, I gave up my apartment in New York City and started living really a nomadic lifestyle, and that put everything I owned in a digital way up in the cloud. So I really am from the internet. And what that means is that I spend an enormous amount of time on kind of the fringes of the web, the fringes of the way that digital is impacting humans and the way that digital is impacting business, and bringing it back to the people I work with. It all sort of started after my mom. It started in the back of a journalism class my first year and my only year of college. And I started a blog with my name on it. It was a place for me to catalog things that I liked in art, in design, in technology, in fashion, just things around my life that I thought were interesting. And I would post up things, send it to friends. I'd review an airline. I'd go on a trip and blog about it. And I started receiving a pretty significant amount of traffic, unbeknownst to me. And what was most interesting is that I started getting emails, incoming inquiries from the CEOs and CMOs of some of the largest brands in the world, and they all wanted to advertise on my site. And they said, if you can just insert this little code into the right column there, this little banner will sit there and we'll track it, and you just go ahead and cash the check we're about to give you. And I started doing that, and I started making a pretty significant amount of money in the back row of this classroom. And this was at a point in time where the word blog was kind of a dirty word, and the professors certainly weren't going to take it seriously. But it was in that classroom I started making more money than my professors. But something struck me. And what struck me is that I'd get an email from the agency or from the brand that was advertising with me, and they'd say, fantastic, you've done wonderful, we want to do this again. And I said, well, how are you measuring this? What is fantastic? What is wonderful? And they said, well, we just had a 2% click-through rate, and that's just a wild success for us. So what does that mean? They said, well, 2% of the people that saw this actually clicked on it. I said, well, that means that 98% of the people that saw it didn't. That sounds like 98% failure. And that started my journey into exploring the way that technology and humans in the kind of advertising marketing space interacted. I started going around the world speaking to some of the largest brands in the world, primarily to the boards, to the CEOs, about the impact that technology would have on their business. And much of it, I don't really know, just guesswork. And at the end of it, at the end of every presentation, people would come up and say, can you help us build our digital agenda for the future? After saying no about 500 times, I finally said yes, and I built a think tank based in New York City called Undercurrent, where, as a gentleman said, we apply a digital worldview to the complex challenges faced by organizations, both for-profit and not-for-profit. That's about all you're going to get about me in the next 40 minutes. So a quick agenda for today. I want to laugh with you guys. Hopefully you have a sense of humor. I want to wonder, and I like to say that I get to wonder for a living. And hopefully there'll be some sort of applause, not for me, but for some of the things we're going to see. Now, I ask you to pack your bags, sort of leave your mental baggage of what you think your preconceived notions about the internet are at the door, and go on a bit of a journey with me. And during this journey, I want to talk about humans and human behavior. So if I mention a particular website, don't go out and buy media on it. Don't try and buy it. The website parts don't matter. What matters to me most are the human beings involved in these interactions. So we're going to start with a bit of laughter. Okay, good. That's sort of my litmus test if this crowd can laugh or not. I've actually played that for hundreds of people, and sometimes people sit there and say, the fuck is that? So I don't know what it is either, but at least you laughed. Has anybody ever seen this person before? Recognize that face at all? Okay, we're going to get back to him. Very important person. Has anybody ever seen this website before, 4chan? A couple people, maybe 3 or 4 or more who are not admitting they know about it. Now, 4chan, I forewarn you, 4chan is one of the worst places on the internet. It's disgusting, it's anti-Semitic, it's dangerous, it's downright crude, rude, and unusual. But it's also one of the most important places on the internet for one very simple reason. Everything that happens on 4chan is completely anonymous. Now, 4chan works like a very basic message board created in the late 90s. And you go up there and you post a photo, and someone responds with another photo, and then responds with another photo, and responds with another photo. It's basically a photo board. And there's different categories. There's sports, and there's art, and there's adult things, and there's on and on and on. But there's one part of 4chan called random, where all the kind of random things get posted. And a couple years ago, this picture was posted on the random board. Just a cat. And someone looked at the cat and said, wow, that cat looks hungry. I wonder what he's waiting to eat. So someone added this very simple phrase to it. Iken has cheeseburger. Looks like a hungry cat. Cats love cheeseburgers, apparently. That it started this meme that we all know. And then these cats started coming from everywhere, right? The power nap cat, or this one, or one of my favorite ones. Now, these cats made their way out everywhere. Hundreds of thousands of these cats are being created. Tens of thousands of these cats are being created every day. They're moving around the web. I knew that the cats meme had made it when my mother sent me a cat, as if I'd never seen it before. Now, what's most interesting about these cats is, A, where they started. They started in this anonymous place called 4chan that we'll talk about, but also that the language that's used on these cats is actually a real language. It's called lolkite, and it has specific rules. So you start with something like, that's a really cute cat, and look, he has a bow on his head. The first step is you misdecline the verbs, you overuse prepositional phrases, and on, and you end up with, that's being the kitty very full of cuteness, and to be with looking him's got bowage on the head. You go through the next steps, you use commonly accepted internet abbreviations, you misspell them, and on, until you end up with fantastic things like this. Oh my God, wow, that's being the cat's full of cuteness. What's amazing about this is that you can actually do it wrong. So if you think you can just take a photo of a cat and use some gibberish and put it on there, you're completely wrong. Now, the Holy Bible, the very official edition, was translated word by word according to those rules perfectly and turned into the Lolcat Bible. They followed the rules specifically. A completely anonymous group of people created this. Well, I'm not going to even show that to you for more than 3 seconds. You've all seen that. It's all been sent to your email box that, oh my God, look at this most amazing video ever. You've all been rickrolled. The rickroll started in 4chan. This anonymous group of people pushed it out, and it became a cultural sensation. It became a cultural meme. Basically, anything funny that you've seen that's unexplainable starts on 4chan. The Chocolate Rain song starts on 4chan. And as digital anthropologists, a lot of people started to say, what is this place? How does it work? And where is it going? And will this ever make it into the mainstream? But then something really interesting happened. In 2009, Time magazine ran this poll about the most influential people in the world. And it had some of the people that we all know, like Steve Jobs and, God forbid, Sarah Palin and Barack Obama. But at the top of the list, a very simple internet voting form, at the top of the list was just 4 letters and 1 word, Moot, M-O-O-T. And he was up there by a huge margin. I think 12,939,000 votes, followed by Anwar Ibrahim and Rick Warren and Carlos Slim and Andrew Merkel, and I would say some fairly influential people who fell behind him by just a huge margin. And what was most interesting is that people realized that the first letter of the first name of all these people spelled something. And it turned out to spell Marble Cakes Also the Game. Now, you see how incredibly specific the people that did this had to do. Because between some of these, there's only mere hundreds of votes to create this this phrase along the left side. Now, I have no freaking clue what that means. It doesn't matter, but what matters is that this character here, who I showed you earlier, is Moot. And this, according to Time magazine, is the most influential person in the year of 2009 for what we'll talk about. But Moot, his real name is Charles, lives in New York City. Up until recently, he lived with his parents, where he ran 4chan, and he ran up a $60,000 a month credit card bill on his mother's credit card. And he didn't quite know what to do with this place he had, this place called 4chan, which is blocked from Google. It's blocked from Yahoo. No one but adult pornography websites will advertise on it. And he can't seem to make money out of it. But people wanted to stay around for this kind of relic. I call 4chan the bottom billion. Now, a lot of people talk about the bottom billion in terms of the bottom billion people in the world. I talk about 4chan as the bottom billion page views in the world. At times, it lingers in the top 1,000 most visited website in the world. On occasion, it's the 100 most website in the world. And once in a while, when something like the lolcats happen, it is the #1 most visited website in the world that no one in this room has ever heard of. Now, Charles does two interesting things on 4chan, which will weave its way through this presentation. The first is that he dumps his data every 12 hours. And he dumps it for two reasons. The first is that he doesn't have enough hard drive space to actually keep the ongoing data that gets created there, because the photos are so big. The second is that every week he's subpoenaed by the FBI or the CIA for the information that happens inside 4chan. If anybody's been following what's been going on in the Middle East, this group called Anonymous, this is this kind of anonymous group of hackers, have done quite a bit of damage to the world and have helped on behalf of taking down some of these regimes. So Charles has actually legitimized himself now and has raised some money to try and figure out, can he replicate what's happening in 4chan as this kind of meme factory in the real world? Totally makes you wonder, right? Things used to be very simple. We saw some television ads earlier, and it just used to be as simple as placing one of those on the television, and people would go out and buy your products. You could communicate very easily to people. Things got digital, and everything got disrupted. And now I mean everything. I say that if there was an old guard to something, it's getting a new guard. My kids will not understand what investment banking is. It won't make any sense to them. That you could have, in one era, had a 7 or 8% interest in your savings account is foreign. That there was a big company called Bear Stearns is just preposterous. So what I think a lot about is there a unit to this disruption? Is there a way to measure this disruption? And what is it? What is disruption, and how is it weaving its way into our daily lives? We all have this news feed now, for all of us that are on Facebook, which statistically everyone in this room is, and it's bombarding us with these kind of heartbeats, these disruptions. Your friend has posted this, you've been tagged in this video, you've gotten this comment, and it weaves everything together all based on this status, right? What are you doing in this very given moment has become the kind of most important part of the cultural zeitgeist. Twitter, everyone knows all about Twitter, which is growing at tremendous speeds. It's kind of this ongoing thing that we've all been sucked into. And it's not just updating your status, it's staying on top of these disruptions as they come at you. So this is a screen of what it looks like when I actually get all of these incoming messages. On the far left, it just has all my friends. Next, it has my company Undercurrent. Then it has people that are replying to me, and then it has the direct messages. And I'm sitting looking at this, wondering about the way disruption's affecting my life, and I realize I've kind of become an air traffic controller of my own information. Right? We've all become air traffic controllers of information to manage these disruptions. And there's a whole new language to these disruptions, right? The @ sign has taken on this whole new meaning. The D all of a sudden stands for direct, and the retweets. And I could have never predicted that hashtag would have taken on meaning again in the way that it has. And every URL gets smushed down to make disruptions perhaps less disruptive. And I'm sitting at my desk thinking, who am I? What if I become an air traffic controller almost full time to manage this influx of disruption? And then this quote came to mind. The increasingly widespread practice of people coming together for effective purpose changes our sense of who the other is. And like my friends at Facebook say, we are our social graph now. We are made up of the disruptions that we make and that we read and take in every day. And some of the ways that we've been able to map these disruptions are showing incredible things. These disruptions are also connections, right? So this is this wonderful map that I hope some of you have seen, which is a map of the world drawn by the connections inside Facebook, right? So this map actually is drawn based on people connected to people. And the people at Facebook knew that they were making a difference in the world when they first saw this map and they first realized that the nodes, the colored nodes, were actually drawing the map of the world. Now, if you want to talk about internet freedom for a second, you notice that one very large country is missing there. So the question is, and what I do for a living is imagine what happens when a world full of people grow up with this stuff? What happens when a world full of people, rooms 1,000 times the size in universities and schools, take this stuff for granted? When you take the accuracy of Wikipedia, which is more accurate than the Encyclopedia Britannica, what's going on? What does a generation of people think of some of the most important and fundamental things in the world, like time, money, and space? Now, there's some funny examples in here which will help drive the point home, I think. Has anybody sent or received a virtual gift in here? Most people lie about this. Most people have. So you see up here, this is my friend Justine. Her t-shirt says she's textually active. And she has 181 gifts. Those are those little icons of the teddy bear and the cupcake and the balloon. And someone has actually spent $1 on Facebook to send this to her. And there's a wide variety of things you can choose from. You can choose the lips or the rose or the cowboy hat. Just $1 to do it. And some of them run out. You see up there the rainbow flag. There's only 655 of those left, so they're limited edition naturally. And they run out, and they really do sell out. And if you ever gone on Facebook and looked at the number of virtual gifts that have sold out, it's phenomenal. So you see up here that the penguin up in the right, 100,000 of those have gone. And the ghost cookie, 300,000 of those have gone. Down the left, the chocolate-covered strawberry, very popular. The 100,000 of those have gone. You guys catching? That's $100,000 in penguins, smaller than the size of a postage stamp, that don't actually exist in real life, that real people are spending real money on. This company has created an incredible, incredible demand for something that has absolutely no supply issues. And they're not the only one. They make a tremendous amount of money doing this. A website called Hot or Not, two guys started this in their dorm room in San Francisco. And you would send a rose or a flower to someone that you were flirting with online. The basic red carnation for $2, the tulip for $3, the yellow rose for $6, and of course, the holy red rose for a whopping $10. I don't know what kind of idiot would try and flirt with anything but the red rose, right? Now they're making $600,000 a month on virtual gifts alone. Again, an incredible demand for something with absolutely no supply issues. This makes everyone question the kind of business they're in today, right? So I was, a couple years ago, in an onsen outside of Tokyo, going for my kind of once-yearly relax, be alone trip. And I put my cell phone away, and I put my computer away, and every morning the newspaper arrived, and I would roll it up, fold it in half, and shove it in the trash can. And after 5 days, I finally sort of came out of my shell, and I looked on my phone, and I had dozens of messages from the same person. Said, Josh, you have to call me. Josh, please call me. Josh, where are you? You call me right away. And it was a friend of mine, early employee at Facebook, and I called him and said, Dave, what's wrong? What's going on? Are you okay? Has the world collapsed while I've been gone? He said, well, kind of. And he said, Bear Stearns just fell. Did you read the news? Lehman Brothers isn't far behind. I said, no, but big fucking deal. I work at neither, and neither affect me. And he said, well, dude, we have to start a bank. This is a 20-something-year-old guy that helped create a website with more than 600 million people that's thinking about starting a bank. And so the bank of Facebook, perhaps not so far off to imagine that the old guard will be replaced by the new guard, right? And these economies are really proving out to be tremendous. Farmville is making more than $50 million a month. I checked earlier before I came up, and they have like more than 100 million active users doing this. And if you haven't played Farmville, you're just buying these virtual goods because you need virtual horses and virtual hay to feed those virtual horses, and on and on. This company is like $5 billion private market cap now. These are really, really serious economies. World of Warcraft, again, I would ask if anybody here has played it. They likely lie. World of Warcraft makes $900 million per year. If you grow up in a world where something like that can make $900 million a year, what do you think of money in general? This was a great campaign that Uniqlo did where they allowed people to tweet out an item and affect the price. Actually, the more people that tweeted the specific item, the lower the price went. So here's a parka that started at 58 pounds, and more people could tweet out it, and it made its way down to 25 pounds, and it says some 52% off. We all know that it wasn't actually 52% off, but this is a generation that's growing up that believes it can affect the price of something and actually impact it. Everyone in here probably has heard about this ad nauseum. Radiohead just came out with another album. They did something slightly different this time. Come and pay as you wish. And one thing that was really interesting, I'm not going to explain this because I'm sure everyone knows, just had a 45p handling charge, so they weren't going to lose money no matter what. We know that it doesn't take 45p to actually download a digital file. They said one interesting thing about this, which is that they made more money on this record, this one single record, than all of their other record sales combined. They also had this wonderful box set, of which they sold 100,000 of them for $80 a piece and pocketed all of the money themselves. Right? So people's relationship with money is absolutely changing. It's changing across the board from the grand scale of, can you actually own a bank account that makes 7% interest? I certainly can't. To a small scale of, can I impact the price or choose the price of an item I want to buy? It's really changing the world. Very fascinated by location and the way that this is changing people's understanding of physical space. I assume everyone here has used or tried out Foursquare. Very simple. You check in, it shows you the things that are around you. You decide that you're at Eddie Bauer. You check in, you want to tell your friends that you're there. You get some points. It's this game where the points add up and they don't mean anything, but everyone knows game mechanics really drive this. People like the leaderboard. But what's most interesting about Foursquare, you obviously get these badges, which everyone really loves. What's most interesting about Foursquare are the tips that are laid inside Foursquare. So before you used to go out to a physical place, go out to a bar or restaurant or a hotel or something, you would actually go online or in some way, shape, or form find out a review about it, right? You go say, how is this restaurant rated? But now with Foursquare and these other location-based services, when you check into this place, the tips, the reviews pop up geographically. Just imagine casting this geographic net over the world and being able to place and pin comments on them at any point. So I pulled up two of my favorite, which I think are relevant to the audience in the room. The one on the left is what happens when you check into the MAC Cosmetics on, I believe it's East 22nd in New York City. It says, worst Mac ever, was ignored for 10 minutes in an empty store. Perhaps I'd arrive there, get that tip, and leave right away. On the right, a friend of mine checks in at a bar called Sweet and Vicious, not too far from my office in New York City. And it says, since you're at Sweet and Vicious, Benjamin Palmer says, if you show up early and grab a table in the back and then someone calls in and reserves the table, they kick you out of your spot. Boo Sweet and Vicious, so fucking lame. Perhaps I won't visit Sweet and Vicious anymore. But the question that a lot of people have about this is, why does Benjamin Palmer and this anonymous person named Destiny have to share this? Why are people driven to actually share this information with the world? And people are doing it so much that it's irrefutable now. So adapted from the research at MIT from Henry Jenkins, we wanted to distill this down into three very simple things. Why do we share? The first is to strengthen your bond. The second is to define some kind of collective identity. And the third is to give you status. Now, strengthening your bond with people is easy to understand, right? You share something with a group of people, if you are your social graph, you're also what you share in your social graph. It adds context to the people in your conversation. The second is defining your collective identity. And I think that collective identity is all of a sudden in an influx where the identity part can change based on a lot more than simply what old psychology used to say, which is that you are based upon the 5 people you spend the most time with. Your collective identity is no longer simply about the 5 people you spend time with in physical space, but about a wide variety of other disruptions. And the last is giving me status. So you share something to get status, right? If I'm the first to share that funny cat video with you, you're going to say, wow, that's pretty cool. You were first to find that. So, you know, I love this slide. Sending lolcats has never been easier. You'll never, ever hear me say the word viral unless I'm talking about someone I know who's very sick. When people say, we need to come up with a viral video, I say, wait, what's wrong with your brand? Pass along is made of people. Viruses spread from human to human without those human beings knowing. When videos get popular online, people know that they're sharing them, and they're doing them for a specific reason. They're doing them to strengthen their bond, to find their collective identity. So the question is, I suppose for this audience, who I think from the makeup are full of people who are trying to reach human beings and in some way, shape, or form use commercial creativity to sell them, it's all about resonance, right? It's all about some kind of cultural resonance. So thinking about why people share and creating cultural resonance, we did an experiment in our office. And we put this very simple image up. Up at the top, you see 99 dots in gray, representing Jay-Z, which are not relating to women. And down below, you see Tiger Woods with 99 dots relating to women. I have to assume at least 70% of the people in this room get this joke. And we posted this up on a website that a guy named Jonah Peretti runs called BuzzFeed, which has really complex tracking tools to understand the places that things are shared and the pace at which they go. And we're able to get about 30,000 views of this really quickly. And the data from the views, we were able to begin figuring out what kind of people were viewing this and why. Now, it was just a really funny joke, but we were able to create a micro blip of cultural resonance at an instant. Now, 30,000 people is plenty big a sample to see this. So what happened in this map of interest is that people that like the core were geeks, dorks, and nerds, just the general internet population, right? But people that like Jay-Z overlap with hip-hop, and people that like Tiger Woods overlap with sports, and Jay-Z and Tiger Woods are both celebrities, and people that like infographics are a combination of people that like graphic design and data. And this began this deep conversation inside my company about how do you tap cultural relevance, right? How do you tap it? Because creating it is not so difficult. I mean, it's not easy, but creating cultural resonance and relevance isn't rocket science. So what happens with cultural resonance is ultimately a group of people come together with the recognition of some kind of unique culture. And they decide, because we know why they share now, that they're going to amplify this to the wider society, right? That we like lolcats, and we're going to send as many freaking lolcats as we can out to the world. But if you're a brand and you want to attach yourself to cultural resonance, you, for a very long time, only had one simple way to do that, right? And that's on the left. That's traditional time and space. Now, people in this room, I would say, depend on traditional time and space. And a great example of traditional time and space is the World Cup, right? You get everyone for a set number of days at a set time in a set space. That's awesome, right? If you could create an advertising career purely based on traditional time and space, you could do some incredible things. The world doesn't work like that anymore. There are less and less instances of traditional time and space left, and they become more and more expensive. So if you have more money than God, you can just play with traditional time and space. But what's really interesting outside of traditional time and space, there's the World Cup, is the idea of shared interests. And digital has created a place, because people want to share so much, that shared interests are a way to connect with people and connect to what I like to call cultural resonance. So here is a kind of an idea of it, a loose idea. If you like bikes, and you really like bikes, and this is your interest, you probably care about the environment in some way, shape, or form because you're outside. And if you care about the environment, you might care about alternative energy. And if you care about alternative energy, there's a pretty good likelihood you care about food. If you care about food, you like the slow food movement. And if you care about food, you might care about what kind of knives you use. And it's not too long before you draw these shared interest maps, not unlike the shared interest map that we used for the Jay-Z and Tiger Woods example. Now, in the digital space, it's not constrained by time and space. So you don't have to wait for Friday Night Lights to run your ad alongside a football game. You can connect your brand in very smart ways to the instances of shared interest. And the joke, the running joke is that we, as in the collective we, we're going to share whether you like it or not. So there are more shared interests than you could ever imagine. If you pick one topic, and you can go down a rabbit hole for hours upon hours and find as they splinter out into other shared interests. And now the people that like lolcats, which is now a zillion-dollar industry for the people that are aggregating all those lolcats, also realize that people that like to put small phrases on pictures of cats will put those on pictures of anything, right? The shared interest splinters out into comedy as a whole. So what happens in a world where people are going to share whether you like it or not? And I like to say, well, we're not. Careful, brands, because it's not as easy as just attaching yourself to some kind of cultural resonance and having supreme success. So a quick video to illustrate that.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Diddy. I'm here at my local Burger King about to order me a Whopper and have it my way with everything on it. And if y'all don't know, I'm here to also announce to y'all that Burger King has named me the king of music and fashion. Can I get a Whopper with everything on it? That's the way I want it. Cheese? Everything. Onions, cheese, ketchup, mayonnaise, salt and pepper. Me and Burger King decided to buy a channel on YouTube. It's gonna be me, it's gonna be all my friends, all my big celebrity friends, people that I just meet outside, people that aren't celebrities, different fans. Everybody's gonna be on Diddy TV, special clips. And that, you know, when two kings get together, you know they gotta do it in a special way. Are you getting my Whopper? Cause you sure ain't moving. You ain't moving. Oh. And even the king of music and fashion has to pay. I don't think they read the contract yet here, but they will get it in a minute. Stay tuned for more about the partnership with Burger King and your boy Diddy, right here on Diddy TV and YouTube. Peace.
So an incredibly powerful personality treats the internet as if it's a venue upon time and place where you can purchase a channel on YouTube. And for the people in the audience from Google, you know that you don't have to do that to have success on there. So the general internet community, by the way, had about 900,000 views. I was able to screenshot it before it was pulled down by his PR agency. And the general internet community kind of said, yikes, what is this guy talking about? And then this fantastic video showed up.
What's up, y'all? It's Lisa Nova here. I'm about to go to my local fruit stand. I'm gonna get me some fruit, just the way I like it, with everything on it. I'm gonna combine all kinds of fruit. It's gonna be awesome. I don't know if you guys know this already, but I'm here to announce that me and the fruit stand have gotten together, and the fruit stand has decided to name me the queen of music and fashion. All right, can I get some fruit? Photos, everything. I get my fruit with everything on it. I'm gonna get it with salt and pepper. I'm gonna get it with mayonnaise. Oh, see, chili, everything. Me and the fruit stand have gotten together to buy my own channel on YouTube, even though they're free, just because we're that smart. Are you making my fruit? Doesn't look like it's that. They want me to pay for this. They haven't gotten the contract yet. I'm gonna send it to them. Awesome. Thank you. My channel is gonna be so sweet because it'll be all my celebrity friends, like Miles here. But you know, we're not gonna discriminate. You can be a regular person and you might show up on my channel. You don't have to just be a celebrity. I like regular people too, you know? And when you put two nobodies together, like Lisa Nova and the fruit stand, you gotta do it big. This chili's hot. I think I'm allergic to chili, but that's how you do it. You go out big. Stay tuned. Peace.
So pretty self-explanatory that a worldwide celebrity could be grilled by a 20-something-year-old girl. Lisa went on to get an email from Mad TV and now is a comedian on Mad TV because this work was just so good. And what I'm illustrating is that Lisa understood the rules of the universe in her own specific universe, her shared interest being video content and her place being YouTube, that you just don't go buy your way to the front page of YouTube. You can't do that. So in the last 11 minutes, not yet, I want to talk about the fringe. And this is really what I spend most of my time talking about, most of my time thinking about. But I have to take you through this whole journey to get here. Now, in the fringe is a pretty novel place. And this was added by request of someone in the audience. I have this horizontal line in my brain at all times when it comes to the fringe. And on one side of it is, if you're going to do something on the fringe, it either needs to be the lowest cost possible, or it needs to be the absolute best. So if you're going to use this idea of crowdsourcing to create advertising, it better A, be the cheapest thing in the world, or it better B, be the best. Now, irregardless of what you call novel, whether it's a really creative team of people or a specific and special way of doing it, if you're not the best or not the lowest cost, you're in the middle. And being in the middle sucks. So when you talk about the internet what it's good for, most people just talk about the tip of this iceberg. The tip of this iceberg is awareness and persuasion. Awareness, if all you're after is awareness, the more money you have, the more people you can make aware, whether they like you or not, of your product, your service, or what you're trying to say. If you have some creative twist to it, perhaps you can persuade them to do something. But below the water on the iceberg, and what the internet is meant for, in a philosophical way perhaps, are things like sharing, which we know about now, cooperation, but ultimately, the bottom of the pyramid is about collective action. How do you get people to come together to do something? Getting a group of people to work together towards a shared goal. Now, having a shared goal alone is really difficult, but as soon as you can figure that out, you're on your way. Now, don't expect this to be easy. To me, collective action is ultimately the holy grail. It is the holy grail of using technology and human beings. Human beings are used to collective action outside of the internet, but the people that have sort of pilfered the web are just using it for the tip of the iceberg, for awareness and persuasion, which are okay, but they're not that interesting. Can you imagine what would happen if the number of people that played Farmville actually did something for the better of the world? I like to say, Farmville workers of the world, unite and rise up. And I have some examples that are on the fringe that I think are the beginning of what make this place really interesting. Has anybody ever seen this wheel before? No? So this is a wheel called the Copenhagen wheel. And the Copenhagen wheel basically sits on the back of your bicycle, and it turns your bike into what they call an e-bike. And it collects information about pollution, traffic congestion, and road conditions in real time. It spits up these fantastic graphs that you can use on your computer or use on your iPhone or your mobile phone, tell you all kinds of things. And if you're the only person to ride around your city with this wheel on the back of your bike, the data you get is going to suck. You need the collective group of people to use this to ride around Copenhagen to actually get good data. So the bikers in Copenhagen have been doing this, and now they know what are the best routes that have the lowest pollution and the fastest route between A and B. Absolutely fantastic. Wouldn't work alone. I think every city should subsidize these wheels for bikers, the Copenhagen wheel. Another example of collective action is ushahidi. Does anybody know ushahidi? A couple people. Does anybody know what the word means? Anyone speak Swahili? Me neither. It means testify. Ushahidi came to be around the elections in Zimbabwe, and it was just a very simple website set up for people to snap photos and provide video content to make sure that a free and fair election would take place there. Debatable whether it happened or not, but it started this idea of collective action to better the world in some way. Now, you can go to Ushahidi right now and actually support the disaster. The terrible earthquake that just happened in New Zealand is absolutely up here. And what it is the mashup between free open source tools like Google Maps that allow you to pinpoint things on this map and support the work on the ground. Now, this is a map of the earthquake in Haiti. And this is zeroing down right on Port-au-Prince. And you can see that it has urgencies, logistics, public health, menaces, infrastructure damage. Now, people on the ground were actually making telephone calls and sending in text messages to the central database to start cataloging and categorizing what it would take to rebuild Haiti in a time of immense struggle. Now, the US State Department of Innovation depends on Ushahidi in all these disasters now as this open source platform. You go on there, you say, I'm submitting, reporting a title that on the corner of XYZ Street, there's an infrastructure damage, and it was a way for them to begin cataloging all this information. Google does something fantastic. I know they just started this in Christchurch, the Google People Finder. You're looking for someone, you put in their name. You found someone, you put in their name. Now, a couple people hacked this into something that I find to be very moving in terms of collective action. You go to this website, and they did this for Haiti, and it would have two photos. On one side, it would have a photo of someone that is alive and missing, and on the other side, it would have a photo of someone that was recovered from the rubble and was dead. And it had one very simple question at the bottom, and the question was, are these two people the same? And you could sit there at your comfy home in Sydney and say, no, 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 and perhaps you would find a yes, and with that collective action, you've contributed to saving hours and hours and hours of time searching for people that were indeed dead. It's going on right now for Pakistan, and there's actually an urgent call for action for people not unlike you and I to help them sort through all these incoming pieces of data, these incoming almost disruptions. Here's a map of Pakistan and the floods that have been happening there. And it's not asking you for money, it's not asking you for support, it's asking you for collective action to come through and help organize and categorize the different things that are needed there so that it can almost become a central command, a collective central command. And it's worked absolutely phenomenal for Haiti. This is still in Pakistan. And very simple ways to support it. Another example, which is near and dear to my heart, that a friend of mine put together. If anyone saw this little thing happen in Egypt where they shut off the internet, but they weren't able to shut off the protesters, phone line was created where people could call to tweet, speak to tweet, between Google, Twitter, and a couple other forces came together. And people who were on the ground, who didn't have access to the internet but had access to a landline, could call a phone number and speak what their tweet would be, speak what their 140-character or more message would be. And then a friend of mine who had an immense force of Arabic-speaking translators went on here and translated everything word for word. Big collective action came together. And you can go on there and you can listen to these tweets, or listen to these little voice messages, and then read through hundreds and thousands of these from-the-ground things called Alive in Egypt. So what does this guy have to do with this stuff? What does a guy that's responsible for some of the most significant cultural memes that are maybe completely worthless to the world have to do with the fringe? A lot of people say, oh, him again. I like to imagine what would happen if all those people that were sending cats around were doing something else. What if there was an anonymous intelligence agency of the people? What if there was a group of people out there that were searching for the truth? Oh, look, it happened. It's called WikiLeaks. And I've been talking about WikiLeaks long before these cables came out because it is exactly the same as 4chan. It's just different content. It's an anonymous group of people that are doing something for the collective goal. And the shared goal for 4chan is very simple. Make people laugh and perhaps do some shock and awe. And the collective goal for WikiLeaks is also very simple, and it's to root out corruption. And all of a sudden, this guy is now Time Magazine's most influential man in the world, not the other guy, Charles Moot. And WikiLeaks has done a phenomenal job of uncovering stuff. And whether you agree it's bad or good or not doesn't matter. But the way that it's woven together, this collective action, is the beginning of something that I don't think anybody can really imagine the way it's going to impact the world. A lot more than Bear Stearns falling or my kids not getting 7% interest rates in their savings accounts. WikiLeaks has had more scoops than some of the world's most important newspapers have in the past 30 years. So I like to imagine what would happen in a world where we have cats with a purpose. So I'll leave you with some challenges in the last couple of minutes. The first is, think of how you can turn your marketing that's an interruption into some kind of service. What can you do for the potential user? How can you build some kind of collective action, some kind of utility? The second is, think about how your brand can engage in this emerging group of people, these born digital consumers, by speaking their language. Now, I used to just talk about born digital consumers. Now I talk about two categories, which are quickly blending into one. I had the born digital consumers and the reborn digital consumers, right? Now you just have this one giant mess of people. And the fastest growing segments of the online population are 50 and older women. So I actually have some great studies that show that 50 and older women look like 18-year-old boys online. There's no more demographic targeting. It's purely psychographic stuff happening based on shared interests. The third is, if you're entering a new universe, ask yourself, are you following the rules of that universe? And P. Diddy can remind us that the internet is not a place of time and place. It's a place for shared interests. And finally, one of the most important things, I think, in commercial creativity is, are you surrounding yourself with enough people in your workforce who are born digital, or in layman's speak, who know what the hell this stuff is all about? So with that, I leave you. Thank you very much.